Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to take you through what a lower body strength workout looks for me. I'm currently training for a 200-mile ultra marathon here in April, and these are some of the things I do to make sure I'm taking care of my body as I prepare for this race. I always start my workouts off with a warm-up. Some of the keys that I focus on with my warm-up are just getting the body out of any bad positions. Let's say I just woke up, I'm getting into my workout, and I slept weird. It's just going to help get myself into proper positions. Second thing is I just want to warm up the muscles I'm going to utilize in the workout. And then two other things I try to focus on is just getting my heart rate up and getting my body temperature up just to help avoid injury during the workout. I'll show you some simple movements that I throw in for my warm-up that just help me get prepared for my workout. Comes to the lower body workouts, I don't throw in a ton of barbell movements. Those tend to wear down your nervous system, make you more exhausted. And when it comes to the running, my main focus is making sure I'm getting the running in. So the best way to get better at running is to run. So I'm running lots of hours every week, but this is just kind of an addition to make sure I'm keeping some strength on, I'm not getting injured, and just make sure I'm staying healthy. Running, especially trail running, is not always just forward and back. You got some side to side. So you'll see some movements like lateral lunges or variations on that, just to make sure I'm getting in different planes of motion. But I'm gonna take you through everything I do for my lower body workout. First movement is gonna be a kettlebell sumo squat. So we're gonna keep it nice and simple. Kettlebell squat. We're gonna go 4 sets of 5 on this kettlebell sumo squat. We'll set up with a nice wide base. Keep the weight in my midfoot, and I'll sit down into it, grab the kettlebell. I like the kettlebell to line up with my toes. Sit up out of that position, keep my chin tucked, rib cage down, sit down into it, and rep it out. So we're going 4 sets of 5 on this movement. One extra cue that I like to make sure I focus on is make sure I'm strengthening my feet. So you can get a lot of work that you do with the running outside in the weight room and not just treat this like you're training like a bodybuilder. And how you can do that is when you're doing the squat, you want to keep your weight in the midfoot the whole time. And then as you come up, a good way to get some extra strength work into your feet is you want to drive your big toe into the ground on the way up. So weight stays in the midfoot the whole time. Sit down into it. As you come up, drive that big toe into the ground. And that simple cue of driving that big toe in the ground is going to help strengthen the feet. And it also cues you to fire your glutes. So that's a good way to get some extra work in your feet, ankles, knees, and hips. It's by throwing in some cues like that. All done with the squats, we're gonna get into our next movement, which is gonna be a kettlebell swing. When it comes to the stuff you do outside, again, you wanna replicate it in the weight room. And I wanna prepare my body for the high speeds I'll see outside. So when you're doing your sprint workouts, your fartleks, all that good stuff outside, your body's prepared for those movements. So we're gonna grab a kettlebell over here, again, going a little bit lighter for this movement. We're gonna grab the kettlebell, similar setup to what you did for that sumo squat. Shoulders are gonna be back, slight bend on the knees. I'm gonna hinge my hips back and then try to drive the kettlebell up until my arms are parallel with the floor. When you go into the weight room, you go into a commercial gym, you're gonna see a lot of people not doing this movement correctly. You're gonna see a lot of people squatting down into it and then fire up from there. But we're working a hinging pattern. So in order to achieve that, we wanna hinge our hips back, try to get your torso parallel to the floor, and as you come up, explode through until you're standing up tall. Same cues with the feet that we did with the sumo squat, weight in the midfoot throughout. Then all the way up, drive that big toe into the ground to make sure you're getting some extra glute work as you work through it. Our next movement we got is gonna be a single leg movement. We're gonna do that with this 45-degree lunge. Now let's cue it up for you so you see what it looks like. You're gonna start with both feet facing forward, and then you're gonna hold the dumbbell up high like you're doing a goblet squat. You're gonna rock back on this front heel, and then open up with this leg. Rock back on the front heel, opening up. Torso is gonna turn the way that you're opening up to, and then come back up. We're gonna feel a nice stretch in this leg as you sit down into it. This next one's gonna be using a sandbag. I love mixing in some sandbags into my workouts because it's a very functional piece of equipment. It's also a great way to get some extra core work in. I'm gonna show you what that looks like by grabbing the sandbag here. We'll get into it. So we're gonna take this sandbag, again, set up in that front rack position. For this one, I'm gonna step back behind, slightly lean forward to the torso, which will allow me to work this glute more. And then from there, I'm gonna drive my knee up and through, trying to get my thigh parallel to the ground, toe pulled up towards the sky. It's also a good way to get some extra work in that hip flexor, which you use quite a bit in running when that knee drives forward. And then also every time that knee drives up, that glute is firing like crazy to keep you up and keep you balanced. It's a great overall lower body developer. and a great exercise that translates a lot to running. All right, so this next piece of equipment is called a sand dune stepper. It is a great way to get some extra strength training in your feet, ankles, knees, and hips. When I first got into running, and pretty much throughout my sports career, I noticed I'd have a lot of issues with my knees, with my ankles, sprained my ankle a ton of times throughout playing football. And something that's helped a ton is prioritizing strengthening my feet. With this piece of equipment, it's just gonna take a movement as simple as a calf raise and just elevate it and make it that much harder. It's that much harder just to get your heels up and get them elevated. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like right now. So we're gonna step up onto the sand dune stepper. Big key with this one is just focusing on driving my big toes into the sand dune stepper. You'll see like the first rep you do on these, it's gonna be very hard to lift your heels up. So we'll see how good I can do. There we go. Driving through the big toes and then come back down. For this one, I'll usually go a little bit higher in terms of reps, and my main focus is just feeling my big toe driving the ground. Something I really would focus on is trying to get better at being able to differentiate the big toe from your other 4 toes. So you can do a drill even as simple as just standing on the floor, just feel your big toe driving the ground while the other 4 toes stay up. But this is just another great way to feel that movement. I always finish off my workouts with some core training. Some of the things I've focused on with my core training is mixing in some anti-rotation movements. What that means is you got movement going on outside your body while your core stays locked in place. But it just helps translate to running, because when you're running, you got your arms going on outside your body, and you're more efficient if your core stays locked in place. It's a lot less efficient to be rotating back and forth. So let's get into how I kind of set it up. It'll be 3 movements. I just go back to back for 3 or 4 rounds. So we'll get into what the movements are. So we'll start off with our first movement. We're gonna use a med ball, and we're gonna do a med ball dead bug. How I set up for this one, I'm gonna lie flat on my back. The nice thing about this core movement is there's not all that pressure on your neck. Your head could rest flat on the mat. Arms are gonna be up to the sky, legs at 90 degrees. And then from there, I'm gonna reach back with my arms and legs at the same time. Exhale as I come up, inhale as I reach back. Especially when it comes to core, you really wanna make sure you have your breathing locked in. So exhale, coming up, and then inhale as I reach back. Movement number 2 is also gonna be on the mat. I'm gonna use a Swiss ball. And it's gonna be another one of those anti-rotation movements. It's gonna be a plank rollout. Forearms are gonna go onto the Swiss ball. In a plank position, keep my torso locked in place. Rolling forward, coming back to where those arms come right underneath my sternum. And then my last movement is gonna be standing. I'm gonna hold on to a kettlebell. I'm gonna do an oblique reach. So standing, slight bend the knees. I like to go hand behind my head. I feel a little bit more mind and muscle connection in the oblique. I'm gonna reach down as far as I can. Big exhale as I come up until I'm standing tall. I'll be sure to hit both sides on the oblique reach. Again, usually I go 3 to 4 sets. Cool thing about your core too is it recovers very quickly, so you can train it every day if you want to. I always finish off my runs with a 5-minute backwards walk. Sometimes if I want to knock it out earlier in the day, I'll do it after my lower body workout. So I'll just hold on to the sides of this tread. It is a manual tread. Just kind of reach back and walk forward. The reason why I like mixing in some backwards walks is so much of what we do with running is working our glutes, hamstrings, calves, and the other side really doesn't get that much work. So it's a good way to help keep things balanced, strengthen my shins, my knees, my quads, just keep everything balanced to help keep me healthy. And then let's get into the cool down. For my cool down, I work on some mobility work, some stretching work. With a lot of these mobility drills, what I'm doing is I'm taking that joint through the full range of motion. So if I ever get caught in a bad position, let's say when I'm running or I take a misstep, if your body's experienced that position before, your chance of injury drastically goes down. So it's just a good way to just make sure you stay healthy with all the running that you do or all the running that I'm doing. Thanks for tuning in to my lower body workouts. Be on the lookout for more running content coming soon. Be sure to like and subscribe for more running content.